Hey everyone, welcome to Phoenix Kitchen. Today we're going to do a twist on a classic favorite. We're going to make cheeseburger sausages. Here we go. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is gather our ingredients. I found a chuck roast, not very well marbled, but that's okay because I've got some fat that we trimmed off of a brisket in the freezer. And I'm going to mix a 2.5 pound chuck roast with about a 1/2 pound of fat to give me a 3 pound total, and that's going to be an 80-20 blend. Go ahead and grab some pickles, some cheddar cheese, and the usual suspects: salt, pepper, garlic, a little bit of mustard, a little bit of onions, because these are the things that we really want in a cheeseburger. We're going to get everything ready, grind that meat, stuff these into casings. So the one thing that we want to know is that our cheese is a high temp cheese. The reason we got high temp cheese versus regular cheese is it has a melting point of 400 degrees. So we can cook these sausages and allow the cheese to keep its shape rather than oozing out of the sausages. Now we've got our salt, pepper, garlic, and mustard all measured out. We've measured out our cheese and our pickles. The last thing we're doing is our onions. We're not using diced onions because onions have a high water content and we don't want our sausages to be mushy. So we're using dehydrated onions, and we're going to rehydrate them by allowing them to soak in some lukewarm water for about 10 minutes. Those dry onion flakes will come back to being hydrated, and they'll actually be a wonderful addition to the burger because they taste just like the little fast food onions that you're used to at a place like McDonald's on their hamburgers. It's a very unique onion taste. Just to make life easier, I'm going ahead and measuring out the water that I need for the sausages and allowing the onions to rehydrate in that water. That way, all I have to do is dump it in all at once to the mixture. All right, time to get our meat ready to grind. Now, like I mentioned, I found a chuck roast on sale. You can see it is not a very well marbled one, and that actually works out okay because I've got some fat that I've stored in the freezer from trimming up briskets. If you don't have something like that available, make sure you're getting a very well marbled cut. You're not going to want to use round. You're going to want to stay within the chuck section, but you know, any kind of roast, some marked down steaks, anything like that, trimmings from your own briskets always make excellent burgers. But we're just looking for that nice lean meat. We're looking for an 80-20 blend. So I've got a 2.5 pound roast and a 1/2 pound of fat that's going to go in. I'm going to get this cubed up so that it's the right size to make it through my grinder easily. Then pop it in the freezer for about 20 to 30 minutes to let that meat firm up to go through the grinder. All right, while the meat's in the freezer getting nice and firm so that our fat doesn't emulsify in the grinder, we're going to go ahead and get our casings ready. We're using hog casings. These are 32 to 35 millimeter hog casings. They're going to come packed in salt, a lot of salt. This is to keep them from spoiling. It's the way that they're shelf stable. So we're going to want to get those into some lukewarm water. It's going to rinse them off, get that salt to come off. It's also going to go ahead and soften them up and give them some elasticity so that they don't pop while we're trying to stuff them nice and full. You'll notice they come in all nice and tangled. We're going to get them untangled. You're going to get around 1 pound of meat into each of the casings. So I'm going to go ahead and get 3 of these in here, 1 for each pound of meat that we're working with today. All right, our meat is out of the freezer. It's not frozen solid, it's just firmed up. What we're really looking for, beef fat tends to melt rather easily, and as the gears are grinding and turning and pulling that meat through and putting it through the blade, we're causing all of this friction. Friction causes heat, heat causes the fat to melt. When it melts, it gums up around your blade and makes it really difficult, and you end up with a ooey gooey nasty grind. We want to keep it a nice clean grind, and then we'll worry about getting everything mixed down later. So we're gonna go ahead and load up the hopper, get this meat through, and then we'll be ready to add in our ingredients. All right, we got the meat ground up. We're gonna go ahead and add in our spice blend. We're gonna just sprinkle this around, and we wanna get it thoroughly mixed. It is possible to season the meat and then run it through the grinder and let the grinder do some of the mixing. I'm using a stand mixer with a grinding attachment, and it struggles sometimes just to get the meat through because it's not really made for a large amount of work. So we're gonna go ahead and just mix this in by hand. You're gonna need about a good 3 to 4 minutes of mixing to get everything thoroughly incorporated. You'll notice we did not run the pickles or the cheese through the grinder. We want those to stay in large chunks, so we're gonna add those in after we get our seasonings mixed. We want to mix everything thoroughly. By working the meat, we're causing some of that fat to melt, those proteins to come together with the fat so that everything will become the sausage that we're looking for. We're looking for a real tackiness here. That's the reason that we add the water and the moisture in. In some sausages, we tend to use a binder. You'll notice once we pick it up, we can kind of mash it and it sticks to our hand. See, that wasn't quite long enough, so we're going to go just a little bit more, and then we're going to be ready to stuff these into the casings. All right, so we talked about how these casings were stored in salt to keep them shelf safe. We're going to find one end, open it up, and scoop some of the water into the casings. Then we're going to hold it up and just let that big bubble of water run down, and this is going to rinse the salt from the inside of the casing. They've been soaking and it's all off the outside, but the one thing that you don't want is to bite into a huge salt bite. It's going to really mess up your sausage and it'll be very disappointing. So we're going to go ahead and get that all the way out. Then we're going to load the casing onto our tubing. We're going to be very careful, making sure that we do not rip or split the casing anywhere as we go. That's why we've got that extra one just in case. Over time, you can develop little burrs on the end of the tubing, so you want to make sure that those are always nice and smooth with nothing that can tear up your casing. Now, before we actually put the casing on, we do want to make sure that the sausage mix is all the way through the tube right up to the tip. We don't want to be pushing air through our sealed up casing and create an air bubble, because that'll explode and then you have messy sausages. So once we've got that on, we're going to go ahead and start this. Get it pulled all the way on. We're going to leave about 1 inch to 2 inches hanging off the end so that we can tie a nice knot, and then we'll pull it up nice and tight and be ready to actually stuff these. Now, as you're stuffing, you can twist as you go, or you can stuff one long casing and then twist afterwards. If you're going to do that method and twist afterwards, you don't want to fill the casing all the way full. You want to leave a little bit of room so that you can pinch between and move the sausage around to create your points to twist. You can't really see it from the camera angle, but on my pan I've got a couple of marks with a Sharpie that show me so I can get consistent length. I haven't done this enough to just know by look, so I go ahead and measure them out. I go ahead and get a few together and then bring it around and do the twist. That's going to give me room to work with the area that I have. If you have a larger work area, it's a lot easier just to go ahead and fill the entire tubing and then come back and take care of it. Once you get all the way to the end, you're going to go ahead and leave another inch or two on your ending. Take that off so you can tie it into the knot. If you end up with a little odd shaped piece, that is actually perfect, because then you don't have to stick your temperature probes into one of your nice sausages while you're cooking. You can have your little test sausage. So you notice here, like I said, we give it a little pinch, we get everything worked around, and then once you've ease that sausage out of the way, you just give it a couple of twists and it will hold. And then as the casings set overnight and start to dry out, those will hold firmly and not untwist, and you'll be able to cut them and have individual sausage links. All right, and once you've got all of your sausages together, you're going to put them on a wire rack. They're going to go into the fridge. You want that wire rack so that air can circulate all the way around, because those casings need to dry out. That's what they look like when they go into the fridge. And then once they come out after sitting overnight, you're going to notice that the casings have tightened up and the colors changed just slightly. Now we're going to get our fire started. We're going to cook these with mesquite today because we want our hamburgers to have that nice open fire kind of flavor. We've got it nice and low. We want to go as slow as we can with these. We get them all out onto our grill. It's going to take about 3 hours. And through that 3-hour process, you'll notice a nice color change. The sausages will plump. When they hit 150 degrees, we're going to bring them in, put them into an ice bath. You notice they are juicy. There's big chunks of cheese and onion and pickles. We're going to make a little special sauce, recipe down below. And then we're going to grab some puff pastries. Puff pastries instead of buns. We're going to roll these out and cut them into quarters so that they will fit our cheeseburger sausages. We're going to roll the cheeseburger sausage up and cut off any excess. Then we're going to give a little bit of scoring to the top, and we're going to hit it with an egg bath so that they get nice and golden brown. Little hint of salt flake for me. If you like, you can put a little sesame seed on if you like sesame seed buns. These things are going to cook for about 20 to 25 minutes until you're golden brown. We're going to bring them out. You can eat them whole. You can cut them into little pieces. Dip them in the special sauce. Special sauce is great for the fries also. Serve them up how you like. We're giving away a 5-piece cast iron lodge cookware set when we hit 1,000 subscribers. All you have to do is like a video and subscribe to the channel to be entered in the giveaway.